I've outsourced my excitement for the latest Saints Row title to a third party because by this point I cannot even muster a fake half smile when I hear the game's name, so if you please.
Oh my god! It's finally here! It's finally happening! Saints Row is here!
Right, that's sorted, thank you very much.
So, about the payment.
Yeah, you'll get your damned snacks, you parasite.
Good. I just had to fake excitement for Saints Row, of all things, you know? Doesn't come cheap.
It was only a few days ago that I produced a first impressions video of the newest Saints Row game, and if you have seen it, then you'll know that I was about as impressed with this game at the beginning as I would have been with a child that just learned to draw by smearing shit on the walls. Opening like any generic military shooter might, Saints Row quickly attempted to establish that it wasn't like the series it was attempting to reboot. But credit where credit is due, whilst it has gone for a more grounded thing, it's avoided being too gritty and realistic, because if there are two words that should be kept as far away from this series as possible, it's gritty and realistic.
Wait, that's not the opening. The opening is at the party with all your mates. God, learn to play video games better.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgive me for forgetting about the pointless scene that didn't need to be there because it achieved literally fuck all if you're not new to the series, and only slightly less than fuck all if you are new. I feel we're a bit ahead of ourselves here. Let's just quickly slip in the support message, then we can get on with tearing the game a new one. If you enjoy these videos and would like to support the channel, then head over to patreon.com/Ronica Reviews. For just £1 a month, you can help me to build my channel. If you become a supporter, you'll get 24 hours early access to new review videos, a shout out at the end of those videos, and you'll get to suggest games for me to cover. If you'd like something more tangible back for your support, then visit my T-Mill shop. You can get yourself a t-shirt, or maybe a tote bag. How about a jigsaw puzzle? Both links will be in the description of this video, so be sure to check those out. Also in the description, you'll find links to my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter, so you can follow me on there if you like. Anyway, that's done, back to the video. Saints Row was announced in August of 2019 as a reboot to the popular Saints Row series, and after dropping a few trailers, the game was torn apart online by people throwing around the word woke with the usual regard of any internet crybaby who sees a not white, not male character in a game and ends up in a state of utter panic. If you somehow don't know what woke means, then the short version is that it's a word used when people see diversity in something and they don't like it. Often it is used to refer to companies or pieces of media that tried to push diversity so hard in an obvious attempt to score points with marginalised or otherwise underrepresented communities of people. And for what it's worth, I get that. Diversity and inclusion are good things, but don't do either then pretend that that alone makes you worth a crap. Being all diverse and inclusive just so you can say, ooh, look at how progressive I am, well, it's just virtue signalling, innit? A great example of this sort of thing is every corporation when Pride Month comes around. But is Saints Row really so woke, or is this just another case of hardcore gamers being truly pathetic and so easily riled up over nothing that it's almost not funny? Well, let's together look at the announcement trailer and see how woke it is. Let's not forget that as early as this announcement trailer, people were calling the game woke, so I think it's only fair that we also start here. Just a bit of a heads up, I recorded this on Friday the 26th of August, before the weekend, so it's going to have a bit of a different tone to the rest of this review. Hi everyone, it's Real Life Ronica. So we're going to look at the trailer and we're going to try and determine what makes it the woke, because that seems to be the biggest complaint for Saints Row, aside from the fact that it just isn't very good, but we'll get to that later. Let's look at the trailer and see what makes it woke. I'm sure the internet hasn't just thrown itself into a tizzy over nothing. It never does that, does it? So let's do that, shall we? Don't really need to move that, do I? This is the microphone I'm talking into, so that was pointless. Let's get on with it. Okay. There's a cactus, a neon sign, and a stegosaurus. Wow, I'm edge of my seat here.
Okay, you got eyes on the buyer?
Yep. Here he comes.
And I got the dealer. Nino, they're heading your way.
Yep.
They're here.
You should have eyes on the merchandise.
Okay.
I sure do.
Oh,
Was that a
that's
gunshot?
rude.
Yeah, they shot the dealer.
That is so unprofessional.
I think that's supposed to be a joke.
There's a lot of them. Can we do this?
We can't afford not to.
Nina, you good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Whenever you're ready, Kevin.
What are you guys thinking for dinner tonight? How about my world famous chili con carne?
Okay, so far I'm not seeing the woke. I'm sure it's coming.
Hey guys, what you got in the... Oh, stolen Marshall MDI-101 M9 multi-rocket shoulder launchers. Nice. My buddies and I have been looking all over town for those. Have you been hoarding?
You see, I knew as soon as this trailer drops there were people calling it woke.
Empire, got it.
I've never said that word as many times as I have today. Seriously, what is it that people were complaining about? I mean, this isn't exactly an interesting trailer. It's kind of soulless, but like that's a reasonable complaint. What's the woke? That's our boss character. That's like the default boss. Right, okay.
Dad, you should buckle up.
Well, that's rude. Have I missed it? Like, oh, let's just... Yeah, this is nearly at the end of the trailer now. Have I missed it? Is it going to get extra woke in the last couple seconds? I don't know. I'm going to have to go through like their Twitter and their other things just to see what...
Get the fuck away from my friends.
They've got a rocket launcher. Was that it? That's it, isn't it? What were people I mean, yeah, as I said, soulless. That's a fair word, but I think the internet might have been talking out of its arse again. So I've got 3 ideas. There were 2 women in the trailer, and that's woke because reasons. There was a black guy in the trailer, and that's woke because reasons. Or the white guy in the trailer is clearly not in charge, and that's woke because reasons. First of all, if you've never played a Saints Row game before, then I can promise to you that none of this is new. In Saints Row 2, 3, and 4, you create the character that you'll be playing as, and you can choose them to be, well, whoever the hell you like. Hell, from 3 onwards, you can be purple if you like, and since the games don't feature romantic subplots, it is up to the player to decide just how gay their character is behind closed doors. Of course, it could be something as simple as that this time around the default player character is not a white man, but a Latina woman. If you're new to gaming, yes, that is enough to upset some people, but don't forget, you create the character in this game. You literally build the character, so if you don't want them to be like this, you don't have to have them like this. Make them whoever you like. Though this will still trigger the babies of the internet, since the character is referred to by gender-neutral pronouns, though to be fair, it's not really new either, because the player character has almost always been referred to as either you, the boss, or the president in spoken dialogue, so why is this an issue? I really don't know. I mean, it's not like any of this affects the gameplay of this video game, or even really affects the story at this point, so I'm just gonna stop kicking this particular hornet's nest. Let's get on with it and discuss the game properly. So by this point, we've already covered the beginning of the game. We get to look at our boss having a party and then getting buried alive before jumping ahead to the military mission a few months earlier. I will quote here a scene from Rick and Morty. I think we should start our stories where they begin, not start them when they get interesting. I can't do a Morty voice. And it's a sentiment that I largely agree with. I am not saying that this can never work. It could be a means of providing great tension, but if it doesn't achieve this, then all it really does is spoil a later plot point. Also, if you are a Saints Row fan like myself, then you won't actually worry seeing your character getting buried, because the Saints Row protagonist has always proven themselves to be unkillable in cutscenes, so why would I worry now? I just kind of assumed that eventually we'll climb out of the grave, and yeah, we do. It's obvious, ain't it? I'm going to be spoiling a few other key plot points, but trust me, they're not surprising in the least, and it'll save you playing the game.
No spoilies.
No spoilies.
Also, due to something really unfortunate that happened on Saturday, I'm in a bit of a bad mood this week, and taking out my feelings on a shitty game reboot is going to be therapeutic. Be fair though, I wasn't going to be nice to the game even if I hadn't had to deal with that. So our character is part of Marshall Defense Industries, a private military corporation and weapons developer, and this is supposedly to contextualise how our character is so good at guns and murder, which, yeah, lazy as it is, it does do that. We get a few missions serving under Marshall and their cheerful leader, and if you hadn't somehow already figured out that this guy was going to be a villain, he fires us for basically no reason. Well, the reason is we didn't successfully protect a book from being stolen, although we did actually save one of his executive people's lives, but obviously he's a villain, he doesn't care. I'm not gonna lie though, that point about him firing us over the book that we're supposed to be protecting getting stolen was a plot point so original that I called it at the beginning of the mission. And just to prove that I'm not trying to say how clever I am, it literally took me 3 viewings of Cabin in the Woods before I realised it was a satire. Before we get fired though, after our very first job with Marshall, we get to meet our roommates. 2 of them are members of local gangs, and one of them is an educated nerd with glasses. And if you ask me to name each of them right now without needing to quickly Google it to remind myself, then you're out of luck, my friend. No, wait, tell a lie, I remember Nina, because I kinda like her name, but that's it. I had to Google the names of literally every character in this game aside from her. They're hardly exciting personalities, and I quickly forgot they existed when they weren't on screen. We rob an insurance place with them to get some money to pay the rent, and later, after the player gets sacked, we decide to form a startup venture, which of course winds up being a powerful crime syndicate, and we set out to stake a claim over the city of, sneaky Google, Santa Ileso. Please forgive me if I've said that wrong, I'm really bad at pronunciation. We'll be contending with 3 other gangs, the Idols, who are basically just hippie anarchists and a bunch of massive fucking hypocrites who talk shit about capitalism, I mean, it's fair innit, whilst dropping huge amounts of money on parties, nice homes, cars and yachts. It's okay, you are supposed to hate them. Then there are Los Panteros, who love their cars and are basically just your typical depiction of a street gang. I mean, there's nothing really impressive about them. They have this whole thing about family, but I think that's just there to serve as a narrative device. And finally, our former colleagues at Marshall, and god, there is so little character on display here. We're going to need help though, taking them all out, so we bust this dude out of prison, you know, this dude, the guy we literally helped capture at the start of the game. And with him, we plan our takeover of the city. With his help, we rob a money train owned by Marshall, we kill the boss of Los Panteros, by which I mean he kills the boss of Los Panteros. Literally, he just drops in and murders him. Then we later smack down on 2 of the Idols' leaders, though he doesn't actually help us take down Marshall, we have to do that ourselves by making them look bad in public by hijacking an AI tank and causing billions of dollars worth of destruction, which gets them to vote their CEO out and replace him with a new one that doesn't have a hate boner for the Saints. And wow, these are boring ways of taking out our antagonists. Though to be fair, with the exception of Marshall, the dude in charge of Marshall, the other antagonists really aren't characters. I mean, the Los Panteros guy is almost a character, though emphasis on almost. Anyway, things go well. We throw a party that we saw at the beginning of the game, and oh no, he betrays us. Who didn't see that coming? I am so shocked. Honestly though, if you recruited this guy and didn't immediately realise he was going to betray you later, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. He stabs us, buries us, and kidnaps our mates, so we end up needing to go and hunt him down and kill him. Really, he just wanted to take our mates because he didn't trust us to take care of them and he wanted them all to himself. We kill him, and then that's the plot over. We get the credits and then we're just thrown back into the open world to do what we please. If it didn't come across, I'm hardly impressed by this narrative, and it doesn't even have any good OMG standout moments that I can point to and say, that shit is funny right there. Okay, I'm telling another lie. There's one mission early on which is basically a big live action roleplay thing with our mate Eli. Oh, that's the name of the dude. Eli. He's this dude with the glasses and the weird bow tie. And it was pretty funny, though by the time we beat the mission, the joke was done, and that'll be relevant in a bit. Let's discuss the gameplay now and why it sucks. So Saints Row is an open world crime sandbox stroke third person shooter which is typical of the series, but somehow managed to capture neither the charm, the challenge, or anything else that would have made this game engaging. For the record, the shooting is fine and the driving is also fine. Both were about 88% functional and served their purpose, but neither of them really stand out. The shooting segments typically went on long enough to border on being fun. You can carry 7 weapons at a time and switch between them quickly, and you have access to skills like lobbing a grenade or doing a fiery death punch to spice things up, and as you damage enemies you charge up a takedown move. This comes at the cost of the regular takedown moves you used to be able to do just by sprinting at the enemies and pressing one button. You might think that this new system is to try and balance it, but to be fair, The original way of doing it would only kill the enemy if the enemy was already at low health, and even then, charging towards the enemy left you vulnerable to gunfire. Nowadays it's treated like some ultimate ability, but all it really does is slowly and inefficiently delete one enemy combatant. Other enemies won't attack you during the animation, and it goes on long enough for you to recover some health, which is part of the point I suppose, but it's not really fun. I mean, a couple of the animations made me smile here and there, and the ones that you do during the live action roleplay segments are... yeah, they're pretty funny, but it's not as if this is an interesting mechanic, although sometimes the positioning would fuck up and it would become slightly amusing. But of course, combat is only part of the game. How does the driving fare? Cars handle fine, though it did seem way easier in this game to make them spin out compared to previous titles. The game tries to spice things up by making cars handle like someone buttered the tyres when you're off-road without the proper car upgrades, but serious question, who is this for? Was anyone seriously clamouring for this? Oh, I like Saints Row, but I really wish the cars handled like utter shit if you drove slightly on the dirt. It's frustrating as all fuck when you make the slightest turn on the dirt and your car loses its fucking shit. Perhaps it's an attempt at realism, but hey, look, right there, it's one more word that doesn't belong anywhere near this franchise, or maybe it's just a stupid idea awfully squashed into a game that didn't need it, who knows. Also, half the time when I get out my cars I get hit by the door as it closes and I take some damage. That's bullshit. I mean, it's not an issue that's game breaking or anything, it's just a display of frankly pathetic incompetence. Let's now discuss the side hustles. In most Saints Row games, you have these little side missions you can do for cash and XP, and most of the time doing them would increase your control of part of a city. Saints Row naturally has a similar thing going on. There are a few side hustles you can do for the cash and for the XP, such as riding shotgun, where you protect a driver from waves of enemy vehicles, or evading the cops with illegal goods. And what's a shame is, these side missions have the potential to be really fun. The shotgun missions are often ruined by their restricting of the player's weapons, so I do hope you didn't like that assault rifle that you spent all that time and money upgrading because you're now stuck with a terrible SMG. Fuck you. But even when the missions don't fuck with your gear and let you just use the weapons that you've already been upgrading the whole game, they never last long enough to be enjoyable, and that's a shame. I liked that blowing up enemy cars restores the health of your own vehicle, and that you can ride on the roof to use all your currently equipped weapons rather than just the pistol or the SMG that you'll be stuck with if you're riding in the seat. But of course, riding on the roof means you're more exposed, so you've got to take that into account. But just when it starts to get enjoyable, boom, mission done. Oh well. Those ones where you have to avoid the cops, they're pointless and annoying. Cops have way too wide a detection radius, and you're being timed for some reason because the devs clearly thought, oh yeah, let's just slap a bunch of time limits on missions that don't need or benefit from them. Oh, and let's have the timer only appear sometimes because fuck the idiots who buy this game. At least that's what I think the devs thought. I can't claim to know how other people's minds work, I barely know how my own mind works. There are other side missions like the live action role playing bits, but I never touched any of them since the joke was kind of done at the end of the first mission, so why would I bother? You can do wingsuit missions, which are fine unless you have to land on thin buildings, which is often the case, and you're under another one of those time limits that you can't even see, and also the things that you need to blow up in these missions are impervious to anything aside from shrapnel charges. Of course, this isn't a big deal, you just have to switch to the charges, it's just, well, it's kinda odd really. I've been blowing up cars and tanks with my pistol since early game, but for some reason shooting them with my RPG launcher does nothing. You also get extra side missions from Criminal Ventures. Unlike in previous games, we don't buy properties, we build our own, and each reward different missions. In the interest of time and the fact that most of these missions are fucking boring, we're going to look at two examples in particular. Open a Shady Oaks medical place and you get the fraud missions. If you're new to the franchise, then these are the missions where you ragdoll yourself into traffic to score points. Unfortunately, this is another thing that the game bollocks up by nerfing the ragdoll physics to such an extent that the fraud missions feel slow and lack any of the amusement that they used to have. Sure, I see the cars blowing up when I land on them, but how do I put this delicately? I don't care, it's not funny. The second venture we're going to look at is the restaurant. Well, I say restaurant, it's a fast food place. That's a restaurant in the same way that Rise of Skywalker is a Star Wars movie. Both are technically true, but you wouldn't take a date to either of them. Basically, the missions you get from the restaurant is to steal rival food trucks that are full of drugs and then kill all the gangs that are defending them. You know what, we're going to talk about one more venture here because it's my video and I can do what I want. One of the businesses that you can open is a laundromat, but it's actually a front for a crime scene cleanup team. What missions do you get from this? Well, you have to help remove bodies from the crime scenes. Again, these missions are timed, and you can't tell that half the fucking time, and you need to avoid the police. Oh wait, no you don't. It turns out you can drive by as many cop cars as you like and just have a long conga line of them following you. If they get too close, just sideswipe them off the road and they explode, no problem. I tried playing it careful once. I took the side roads to avoid the police and then I ran out of time because again I couldn't see the timer. I really don't get why I'm being timed for most of these. Yeah, I sort of get the one where you have to dump the body on a railroad track in time for a train. That one makes sense to time the player. What's really weird is when you get close enough to the point where you're supposed to drop the body, the police just completely vanish, so they're not even, like, what was the point of any of this? There are several other missions you can do, but we're not going to go through all of them because frankly I don't care. You probably don't care. They're not exactly fun or engaging. god, this game forgot to be fun and engaging on almost every fucking thing it did. Could it be worse? Why yes it could, cause bugs and glitches. Sometimes cars would just vanish before my very eyes, and occasionally I'd end a mission with a melee weapon out and this would happen. So here you can see I'm pressing the button to access the garage and it's not working. Now I can still move the camera, but I can't dodge or jump, and you can usually do all that stuff here. So I don't really know what's going on. And the controller's obviously powered up, you can see it, so I don't know what's happening. Yeah, this is a great look for a game. Sometimes weapons just wouldn't spawn in my hands even when I was clearly supposed to be holding them because I'm still doing the little holding motions and this left me defenseless. I had the game crash on me twice in the course of one fucking day. And again, sometimes vital mission timers just won't appear. I did wonder if those wingsuit missions which claim to be timed are actually timed or if it's just dialogue being spouted whenever it's supposed to be spouted, though I'm not about to give the game the benefit of the doubt. I get that it's very common for new games to have bugs that didn't get noticed in development, it's fine, it happens. But this amount of bullshittery is frankly embarrassing. I know this will probably be fixed at some point, but that won't score it any points in my book. This was considered ready to be sold, which means that this is the standard the studio is cool with. I still judge Fallout 76 by its launch standards because again, that was the state the game was in when the studio decided that yep, that's good enough for our customers. Although having played Fallout 76 only a few weeks ago just to see what it was like these days, I gotta be honest, it's not like it would get a decent review today, now it's just slightly less shit. The final thing to really discuss is the character customization, and credit where credit is due, this is one of the only places where the game absolutely shines. You have a lot of customization options available to you. From hairstyles to scars to tattoos to prosthetic limbs, there's so much you can do to make your character look really interesting and unique. You can make your character look as male, female or androgynous as you like. There are 8 different options for voices, and I love that you can just make your character a purple-skinned vampire looking motherfucker if you so desire. I also like a lot of the abilities that you can unlock. There's the one that heals you when you damage enemies, which is quite cool. I'm less fond of grenades being a skill and not buyable tools. It's not the worst thing, but still. One of my favourite skills was charging up a flaming punch. That was quite cool. It was so wacky that I almost felt like I was playing a Saints Row game. I like some of the traits that you can unlock, but I only bought 2 of the 5 available trait slots and I never found this to hamper my progression, so one could argue that the traits are fairly pointless. I also like the customization options for your cars and your guns, although the game sometimes bugs out and forgets these changes were made. Fucking hell, Saints Row. Saints Row could have been an absolutely brilliant reboot of the franchise if the creators still possessed that innovative spark that made the original game so good. And I won't say that it does nothing right, after all the game's still remembered to have enemy factions that feel different to fight. I like how the martial guys use high-tech weapons and vehicles in combat, whilst say the idols use flashing lights and tools to blind and confuse the player. And the game did try to be funny, but after the first live-action roleplay bit, which is fairly early on in the game, I don't remember laughing at all. Hell, I don't remember cracking a smile for ages. Saints Row, you're a disappointment of a game, and Volition should be fucking ashamed of itself for letting you out the door. I haven't even mentioned yet how the name of the car upgrade places has been changed from Rim Jobs to Jim Robs. Haha, how funny. Wait, is this the woke? Is it woke because the car company is now named Jim Robs, not Rim Jobs? Is that it? I'm still very confused. Yeah, I know I rambled about this at length, but I'm still just so... I don't get it. What is it that is upsetting people so much about this? Leave your best guess in the comments. But you know what? Let's not be mad that a game is apparently woke now, gamers. Let's be mad that Saints Row is a rather shit reboot of a once fantastic franchise, and you can all feel good that, unlike me, you didn't pay money for this bollocks. Fuck the new Saints Row, and fuck Volition for looking at this and thinking that this is what Saints Row needed to be now.
There we go. Feel better now?
Yeah, a little bit.